watercolor water painting.
Then just first have Sarah log into
So let's put that there.
Do we get to say we walked by the shop front and it looked really good? Because it's all but like there.
Yeah, they just have to stucco the...
Plants aren't looking very good with the rest of it.
What?
The plants aren't looking very good with the rest of it.
You're funny. No, the plants make that shop. Michael finally forgave me for
The plants
taking
absolutely make that shop.
Yeah.
And what he should use that as a caveat to go out and get more
I
plants.
know,
Instead
I
of
thought he
whining
would be
about it,
excited.
Hell no.
Has a
Those
reason.
plants are happy there. Now, I understand he might not have the greatest luck with plants.
Yeah.
So he might need to just come in and care for your plants.
I think he's going to have to do that.
That needs to be the rule because you have other things you need to worry about. And if they're his plants, he can come down and care for them.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I know what goes on in that studio at most times, and there's no work happening up there. You know what I mean? Like, I spend a week.
Like, you could take 10 minutes to come down here and water
We
plants.
could get so much done. I mean, we need to horse around because we have to remain playful.
Yeah.
We have to remain,
Because you have to have that feeling of ease when you're
fluid in what we're
filming.
doing, but at
And
the same time, like, there's a lot of times I'm thinking, like, hey, you guys should be focused on, like, other than, like, I mean, because I watched Jake and Misty build their house. I've watched the, computer inventory system go in. I've watched all that go in from the other side of the camera, waiting to film, waiting for the batteries to charge, waiting for the things we've forgotten on the set. And you're like, so I love it, but I also am like, okay, there's so many things going we could do.
I'm just going to make sure they're clean.
Just a few things. What is Ben's main focus right now? I don't even know. Is it all pen peddler, all that wholesale? What is he even doing anymore? I don't even know.
Product manager, director of product management.
Director of product management. So is he managing products in and out, or people that are managing products in and out?
It's a great question. I don't know. We don't really talk work when he gets home because he's at work so much that when he comes home.
Isn't that wonderful? See, I work out of my home studio, and so my wife has never had that option. And I used to work from my mom, and so we would try to not talk about work on vacations and dinner parties and all of it. But yeah, no, I've never known 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or whatever it's supposed to be. I'm always 24/7, and because I love it and I live it.
Right. It's part of who you are as a character. And Ben does a lot of work at home.
Right.
Like, it doesn't ever stop, but it's not anything that, it's all.
He's not really communicating with you about what he really does.
And mostly it's probably getting after people.
Right.
Trying to get them to.
Muscling up.
Yeah.
I didn't go to much,
But he seems to enjoy it. So
I can
it's good.
on Facebook or on the iPad.
And then when he gets home, it's like there's so much other stuff going on at home,
Right.
kids and stuff.
Right. How many kids do you have? I can't remember.
8.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That is really busy.
That is really busy. So our oldest just turned 17 and our youngest will be 1 next week.
Okay. Yeah, I'm feeling fairly blessed at this point because my youngest is 13, my oldest is 15. They're both fairly sufficient.
Oh, yeah.
My son is willing and does ride his bicycle to school every day and back. He gets himself home from his drama practice. He's not working during the school year.
Yeah.
My wife is pretty good.
Oh, we need to turn off the AC. Okay, I'm going to turn off the AC.
Oh, that's the ticket.
Right. How is the colors doing?
They did really well on my test samples, but my test samples were marked fabric on my table. So I was able to do a light pass, got a decent mark. Then I was marking my quilt, and there was all the batting and all of that inside, and so I put more pressure down. And it was yellow on top of the light color I was doing an underwater scene. And the yellow was a beautiful accent to the white thread, praise the Lord, but it is an accent to the white thread. I cannot get it to come off. I've been, and the way they make lead is they mix, graphite with wax or oil to hold it together, and so that's what, when they bake it, so that's partly the problem is the residue will get, once it gets into the fiber of the fabric. So I'm trying to find, like, they use ceramic colors. We have a couple of those tools out there. This is where it started, is I can buy a really nice 0.9, but I can't make a 0.9 as a gift because I have to buy the kit that goes inside.
Right.
So I could buy a 0.7, but they don't make colors for that. And then they had to get this 0.2, and I was like, rad, but I didn't. So I started making these 0.2s, and people love them. They're selling like crazy. So I can buy for $8 a set of 36 lead. So I carry a blue pack and a yellow pack with me. So I've been giving colors to everybody, but it's just test this on everything.
Right.
It's wonderful for like when I color in designs, I have all the colors I need. You just dump them out and replace the color in and out of the tip. So all of that I think is really, really cool, but I haven't found the perfect lead. I did pitch it to Caleb today and said this I think is a home run idea for our sewing products because I'm seeing some decent to some higher end 2 mil colored pencils that are being sold to folks in the art world for this kind of work, as well as a lot of the adult coloring books.
Yeah.
And so like Pentel right now, I think it's $48 you buy a 24 color kit, and they're individual 2mm mechanical pencils. And each one of those pencils are these $2 plastic pencils that you can buy. It's actually a $6 retail pencil. I'm thinking we can get these made for about $10. And better than that, I think I might just have the hardware remade.
That's why they're stuck.
No,
Yeah. He's like, there's carpet all over the floor.
And so, at any rate, I want to get the, if we can get the hardware made, I would like to improve even on the hardware that I'm buying and putting in the mechanical pencils. So worst case scenario, we buy the hardware, we have the hardware made, and we sell that to pencil turners.
Yeah. Well, because if you do the coloring books, the adult ones, you're packing around all these, where you just have it all in one.
This is nice, but yeah, that Pentel set is like, it's like a full layout, but it's all full nice pencils, and it is nice, but it's $48. I sell one of those wood turn ones for $45. And so, and I pull them out at my lunch break, and the stilettos and seam rippers, I have this little box I carry around of them, usually about 10 or 15 with me at a time. In the last 3 lunch breaks, I've been out, like where I'm teaching a group of 20 people, I'll pull it out, mention it during lunch, and I'll have $400 in my pocket like that. Go home, turn, spend another, like a day, maybe a day and a half out in the garage, and, make up another couple dozen.
Put them all,
So I've been really excited.
That's cool.
I get 2 pieces of paper tonight.
Stuff will mess up.
My products.
No, we have an extra one for warm-ups.
Oh, yes.
Do warm-up.
My products were emailed the next day, told me they were shipping. So now I'm comfortable again without even checking my bill that my products are on their way.
Great.
I know.
We're having trouble going live.
Is there anything I can do to help you?
Jake, we're not live yet.
Hero's here.
He's about 20 minutes late.
Did you make it happen? Were you texting me trying to get my attention?
We're supposed to be live right now.
That's okay. We didn't have to do any dancing for him.
That's true. That's true.
Are you guys laughing at my dancing stuff?
No, I always dance before when we're a little early.
You want the link to the kit in the YouTube? Okay, I'll pull it up.
Okay. What warm-up should we do? I know. Okay. Woo!
Yeah, it was a tight game. They let it go over 5 minutes.
Now we're over 5 minutes.
Sarah, I'm sorry.
Jake!
Are we live on Facebook or?
Yeah, also we're live on Facebook.
Oh, we are live on Facebook?
Yay.
Perfect.
We got to be on our best behavior. We're actually live.
Let me see.
Here we are.
I like to watch along. Yes, we're live. We're here.
It's delayed. I'm not actually drinking right now.
Yep.
There's a delay just in case I say something offensive. They have the censorship program built in.
It's a good idea.
Bye. That guy. Okay. Hi guys, sorry we're running a little late. We okay, Brock?
Yeah, you're good to go.
Are you gonna come over here too?
Don't you have to sing an introduction or something like that? Or?
Yeah, Brock, sorry, you also have to come up with our theme song right now.
Where's the guitar, Brock? Where's the theme song, Brock?
That's it.
That's it.
That was it.
Are you trying to do YouTube?
No, we're on YouTube. I was just changing some descriptions. You're good to go.
Okay. Okay. Let me turn this down. Just makes me uncomfortable that you're not over on this side.
I'm going to come watch it. Just usually.
Okay, but I should go?
Yeah, you should go.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Let's Make Art. We like to make art, which is what we do every single week. We do different watercolors and we do it step by step so anybody can paint along. So welcome, welcome. We have Tammy here. She's painting with us for the first time. And Rob, he's coming back. He's painted with us once before. So we're excited to have them. Brock is doing our camera work. Hello, Brock.
Hi, friends.
And I'm Sarah Cray. So welcome to this painting along that we're doing. We're painting this gorgeous pineapple here. Ooh and ah at it. Ah, its beauty.
Oh.
Thank you. So
I'm excited for the pineapple.
me too. I'm excited too. And you guys have already been doing it from the tutorial we released last week. They look awesome. I love that you guys are embracing the looseness of this project because I know it's hard. You know, everybody has different painting styles. Sometimes people like to be really precise. And this one, I just wanted to push you guys a little bit on your comfort level in terms of maybe just letting things go, letting things kind of bleed together, that kind of stuff. So this project is really just about fun. That's the whole point of today, really. So let me go over what I'm using. We are using a round 6 and a round 2. Is everything okay? We're good. Round 6 and a round 2. And I only have 2 sets of that, so Tammy's using a round 10. Okay. That's that bigger guy. Which that's going to be a fun.
Job done.
Yes.
That's going to get the job done.
That is going to get the job done. That's a fun brush. So if you have a round 10, paint with that too, because that's a great one. And we are using 5 colors tonight. So we're using black and honey brown, dandelion yellow, magenta, and leaf green. So those are our 5. That's it. Let's start with, before we get started, we got to do our oath.
Got to do the oath.
We got to do the oath.
All right.
Tammy, this is your first time doing the oath.
Now, before we do the oath, though,
Yes.
my daughter Ruby, who is really enjoying all of your lesson plans here.
Oh, great, yes.
So if you get to watch along, I know you're supposed to be doing your homework. You just texted and said you were going to do your homework. So I love you. I'm glad you're following along. One, she's very, very excited about the droppers that are now coming in the kits. Absolutely, she is super jazzed about that. But she wants me to add to the oath every time.
Yes.
I will not go ahead of the instructions because I have a little problem with that. So if I had a round 10 and was going ahead of the instructions,
that's why I
I'd be
didn't
creating
give you
my
the
own
round
art.
10. I would be like, Rob would be gone.
Yes. Okay,
Just
so
do it.
Just a suggestion from my daughter that some folks might want to add that to their instructions to try to.
You know what? I don't see if there's anything. I don't see anything wrong with that because sometimes you're just feeling it and you're like, I just want to go, and I'm like, go paint, go forth and paint. It's fine. So feel free to do that, Rob. No pressure. This is your.
Now I hope
Okay.
she's
Okay. So
permission now.
yeah.
The oath.
Everybody raise your right hand and repeat after me. I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise not to compare my work.
I promise not to compare my work.
And I promise to let loose.
And I promise to let loose.
Yeah, that's it.
You don't know me very well.
Tammy's like,
a
ooh,
big
I
promise."
don't know about this. No, but that's because this project, I really fought Al on this project, and I'm so happy that you guys are loving it. Because every time somebody posts it, they're like, this project was so fun. I'm like, yes, 1 point for Sarah, 0 points for Al, because I just want you guys to play with this. This one is all about fun. Because sometimes when we're so hard on ourselves, and it has to be really precise and it has to be really perfect. And as a therapy for me to kind of almost like wipe that slate clean is sometimes I just like do really big, bold brush strokes and play with color and just kind of let it play on the page. And it just kind of refreshes, kind of like sets me straight again. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, okay, great. We're gonna start with our warm-ups. So go ahead and grab a brush. We're gonna do a few warm-ups. So if you're new to watercolor, you can familiarize yourself with techniques and how it feels and all of that stuff. So the first thing that we are going to do is I want you to grab your brush, any size you want. I usually like to do the bigger brush for warm-ups, but this is your life. So you can do whatever brush you want. And I want you to get your paintbrush wet, and then you kind of hit it off the side of the cup. So it's wet, but it's not totally dripping over, so it won't drip everywhere. And I want you to pick up some paint.
Any color?
Any color. Warm-ups, any color. And I want you to make a rectangle with the paint you picked up. Or a heart, any shape really, just an area of painting.
Yep. I got all the colors.
Great. So, and then what I want you to do is I want you to rinse your brush, and then I want you to let your brush get wet. Don't hit it off the side, just let it get kind of droopy and drippy, and drip some water into what you just painted, that rectangle. Because I want you to just kind of see what happens to watercolor when you add in water drops. Because when you put water drops in an area that's already painted, it actually pushes the paint to the outside of that water drop, so you get some cool stuff. Now, Rob, you just might have to lighten yours up a little bit if you want to see yours a little bit better. You can just take some water. Yep, perfect. If it's too dark, because you did black, that's why. But any other color, that would even be fine. Yeah, I'm not mad about it. Okay. Now the next warm-up we're gonna do is I want you to take your clean brush, just clean water, and you're going to, using just water, make a shape and fill it in with just water. And I know it might be hard to see. You might have to like look at it from an angle to see the light glare so you know where the water is. But while that is still nice and wet, I want you to do the same thing of dripping some paint in. Now you're dripping, you're doing the opposite. You're gonna drip some paint into that area. And it's gonna just kind of explode and bleed everywhere. Cool. And you can actually touch the paintbrush to the water. But just kind of like play, you can even go along the edges that's wet, and you'll see that it's just gonna kind of, I mean, I call it bleed out. There's probably a better way to do that, but that's what it reminds me of. Don't compare. You're doing great.
But I want mine to look like that. That is so neat. Can we just stop there? Sign it. Make it a card. I love that. So I want to, Tammy, have you done watercolor? You said this is your first time here, but have you done any watercolor before?
I haven't really done much art in my life.
I actually am terrified of watercolor, and I knew they were doing this the last time I was in town, so I decided to volunteer. And I'm having so much fun trying to learn this. It is, I mean, it's just.
And you're doing great. And the squirrel, you showed me your squirrel last week, and you were so proud, and you should be. That was awesome. It looked so great.
And that was my primary example of working too far ahead. And I did get myself into trouble, but I did like the warm-up exercises, because then I went back and I used some of the techniques to pull water up. I got really dark around the face area.
Okay. Well, that's. So, oh, and then another thing you can do is you can even drop water in on top of that too. So this is the play area. This is the fun, crazy time that we're having here. We are having fun. Because this is the amazing thing about watercolor, and why I love it so much, is so much of it is just accidental. You put water down, you put a drop within that water, and you just let it move, and you don't touch it. And it does all the work for you. And you get these super interesting textures. You get these great lights and darks, and it's just fun. It's just always an element of surprise, which is why I love it. And that's why sometimes watercolor is really hard for people, because there's kind of an element where you have to stop painting and you really kind of let it do its work, and sometimes that's hard. Okay, and the next warm up we're going to do is we are going to make a gradient from dark to light. So, or a value, so a value of dark to light. So value is all about how light or dark something is. It doesn't actually have to do with color. So what I want you to do is get your brush, kind of hit off the side, grab some paint, any color you want. And you're gonna make, kind of go back and forth with this paint that you just picked up. And then you're gonna rinse your brush totally. And right where you left off from that color, you're gonna take your paintbrush and keep moving that color out. And just by introducing water and moving, I'm going towards the right. If you're left-handed, you might wanna go the other way. And as you see, each time you rinse your brush, your paint is gonna get lighter. So automatically we are creating an ombre or a value change or a gradient just by putting down strong color first. And you can do this a couple times with different colors if you want, but this is actually how we're gonna make our leaves, is we're gonna put down the shadow or the dark color and then just using the paint that's already there, spread it out.
I like that we're practicing it before we're doing
it. Yeah, it's always good to do a couple warm-ups. And the great thing about it too is like if you're ever painting something on your own, which that's so amazing and I love you for doing that, the greatest way to create form or to create depth in a painting is having this value change, is making sure you have that full range of dark to light. That's how you create depth and form. So it's kind of like a basic technique that's, I mean, as long as, you know, it's just basically that same thing of, you know, strong color first, rinse your brush, and spread.
The teacher in me is coming out, and it's only because I've been teaching all week, so you have to forgive me and tell me when it's time for me to just go on break. Okay. But one of the things, the first time I came, I couldn't see your hand. And this time I heard you say it and show it. But what I didn't know about watercolors is you're going back and forth about the brush. You're not worried about brush strokes so much in a lot of this. And that was where I was struggling. I was trying to stroke everything in one direction and wash. And I love the fact that you're showing folks to go back and forth, because that was when you taught me that really helped me.
Especially when you're working fast, it's not necessarily about making sure all your brush strokes are going down or going one way. Because if you're working fast enough, then you just have to get the area wet and the paint will move on its own. And your brush strokes will actually disappear. So if you're working fast like that, that is what we actually are going to do in this painting is work really fast. So it's good that you're bringing that up. So you guys get ready. You guys get ready to work. But pause, because look at this. Look how cool this is. Look at yours. You did a couple colors.
Oh yeah, I was just having fun.
That is so cool.
I see.
We are not, this is not a competition, Rob.
Oh, that's right. That was comparison again.
But they're looking, yeah, that looks so great. Look at this over here. So we dropped color and then I would put water on top of that, and that's how you get that really cool texture. Yes.
The black wasn't nearly as exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you'll have that.
Okay. We are ready to move.
Awesome.
We're ready to work. Y'all ready? Okay. Now for you guys, so this painting, we are doing a background for this painting, which we don't usually do. So that's pretty exciting, number one. And because we are doing a background for it, our paper is going to get more wet than usual. So if you have a pad, I would say to just paint it on your pad and not tear your paper out, because that glued down area is going to keep the structure to your paper a little bit better. Now you guys aren't working with pads, so I brought you some painter's tape. So you can just tape, like do a strip at the top and a strip at the bottom. And you are going to have a white area wherever that tape is, but it will keep your paper structure intact while you're painting. And then if you're doing this at home and you want it to dry flat, then wait, don't untape it until your painting is dry, and then untape it, and then you can move it around. But if while it's still wet, you take off that tape, your paper is actually going to bend and fold while it's drying. So a little tip for you guys. Another thing you can do, and the reason why it's doing this is because this Canson watercolor paper, it's not super thick. This is what I use in my personal work, so don't think that I'm trying to, like, I don't know, trick you guys about it, because this is what I use. But when you're doing water heavy work like landscapes or skies, or when you're really doing layer and layer of water and paint, you want a thicker paper like Arches. Arches is a thicker paper, and that one is going to keep the integrity of the paper a little bit better as you paint. Do you have any questions, Brock? Are we doing okay?
Computer's over there, so I can't see them.
Oh, Brock can't see the questions. That's why. Okay, I'll try and look on my phone and answer questions as we go.
I'm going to help watch for you a little bit.
Sure, that would be great. Okay, so we're gonna do this pineapple in 4 steps, okay? So the first step we're gonna do is we're just going to kind of establish the shape of our pineapple body and the shadows of it. The second step, we are going to do the leaves. Now I know the leaves are a little bit of a tricky part, but it's gonna be fine. Just follow along with me, you're gonna do great. Then step 3, we're gonna do background, and then that very last step, we're gonna kind of put our shadows back in, do details, and kind of clean it up just a little bit. All right, you guys ready?
I'm ready.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, cool. So go ahead and start with your bigger brush. And so what we're gonna do right now is we're kind of just gonna establish the shape of our pineapple. So I did not put an outline for this because I wanted this to be more about free and like just letting loose and all that stuff. So we're gonna kind of actually almost draw the shape before we start painting, and then that way we can make adjustments to it if it's a little wonky or something. So I'm gonna take my round 6, get it a little bit wet, and grab a little bit of golden brown. And I'm gonna mix water to it to lighten that up. So any way to lighten a color in watercolor is you just add more water to it. That's gonna give it a lighter value so it won't be as dark on your paper. And when I'm drawing out shapes on a paper, I always like to start with a really light wash because then it's easier to cover it if we want to change the shape. So I have my light wash, and then I'm going to make my pineapple shape on my paper. Now it's going to be essentially like a half of an oval is what we're going to make here. And keep in mind that pineapples aren't smooth, right? They're kind of like pointy and sharp and a little bit scratchy. So our shape itself is going to I'm going to like go in and out with my pineapple shape and then let it kind of round up. So this isn't,
This is the brave.
this is the
Putting
brave
the first
part,
stroke
yeah.
down.
And you can do it. You're just making marks on a paper. Yeah, excellent. That's it. And so I'm not like doing a full outline. All of my lines don't have to connect. This is more just a general shape to give you a general idea of where stuff is going to go on your pineapple. And then from here we can kind of make adjustments. So my pineapple is not totally centered in my paper. I feel like it's leaning a little to the right. I'm not upset by that though. I actually think it's so minute that you can't even really tell. And I think those look great. You guys, that was like half of step 1. You're doing awesome. So the next step we're gonna do, so now that we have our pineapple body, we're gonna do our shadows on our pineapple. So I want you to take like a darker, that same kind of brown, that honey brown, but don't add as much water to it. And maybe mix a little bit of black in there to get it a little bit darker in color. Just like that.
I'm with Rob. It's a little scary, the watercolors, because it's hard to know and control how much you're getting.
Yeah. And a lot of that just comes with practice.
So is a little bit lighter, if you're nervous, better because then you can go back in and add a little bit more color?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the first painting was very heavily saturated later on.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't go anywhere with
and
it.
that's the thing with watercolors. When you're new to it, you're so used to using maybe acrylic or like other paints that you want to load your brush with all of this color, and it becomes really heavy on your paper. But if you're new to watercolor, getting used to it, just mix that with some water, get a light color, because then you can go back over it and adjust it as you go. Or you can, do whatever you want.
I do 2 coats when I'm doing a roller.
So fun.
The kind of painting I do is 2 coats with a roller always works. So I'm assuming we have to do 2 coats for the pineapple as well.
Yep. Okay, we're gonna put in our shadows here. And our shadows for our triangles, they're basically going to be like, they're kind of like V's. And they're gonna be alternating. So kind of like, you see what I'm saying? They're like a,
I've been in Hawaii recently.
there's, you don't want them in a perfect line.
Right, okay.
No, this is great.
I went ahead. Come on. And then she says it. Ruby, do your homework.
I mean this. You're doing fine. These are okay lined up. I just mean you don't want to do this.
Oh no, you did it.
It's okay. It's fine. So just kind of, we're going to put in those shadows here. Because pineapples have those like little triangle pointing out things, so there's light and shadows playing on pineapples. That's kind of what we're emulating here, just kind of a more basic illustrated version. And you can get a little bit messy with your V's, let some of them get a little bit thicker. They don't all have to be the same size or the same width, because light is going to play across that pineapple differently. Staggered, Sue. Staggered. Thank you.
Words are hard.
Yeah, words are hard. Tammy, I'm glad you're here. I agree. Okay, now that we put in our shadows, what we're going to do is we're just going to, like our warm-up, we're just going to use the paint that's already there and blend them out. Now, when you're blending out, leave some white spaces. So if you see in our example here, these are just, this is purely white paper that I have here. So randomly leave some chunks of white, and that's going to act as kind of like a highlight on your pineapple.
So you're just using the water to
I'm just using the water to spread it out. And if you feel, because sometimes if you wait too long for it to dry, it's a little bit harder to spread out that color. So if that's happening to you and it's not spreading out as much as you would like, then go ahead and pick up some color on your brush. I think I actually might do that a little bit. Just pick up some honey brown and kind of go across, leaving some white chunks here and there.
Eleanor just spilled honey brown all over her table. So if anyone needs honey brown right now, they can just go grab a little bit of Eleanor's honey brown. Yes. Sorry, Eleanor. And I have just created a quilt for Eleanor, and I don't want her to think I stole her idea. But Eleanor, in a few weeks, you'll see a wonderful tutorial, and you'll laugh, and you'll say, ah. Now I know exactly what he's talking about.
And remember to keep that rough edges on the side here. I kind of have yep, great. Tammy, that looks great. Rob, these are looking awesome.
It's fun. I like this freeness.
This is a safe space. We're just gonna play.
It's very safe. We've got Brock protecting us over there.
Brock back there, our silent protector. Okay. And then what I'm going to do, so now that that's looking really beautiful, now I'm going to drop in a little bit more color here. So just taking some more honey brown, I just want to add a little bit of a richness to my pineapple and put in some more color. So this area is all still wet that I'm kind of working with. Oh, that's my voice.
Yeah, I thought I was walking for you.
Sarah, can you push your painting up just a little bit?
Yes, I can. Is that better?
Perfect.
Okay. So while it's still wet, kind of drop in some color. And you don't have to baby this color that you're dropping in. You can just drop it in and move on to another area. This is just, we're trying to get different textures and different values here. So this is kind of where our other warm-ups came into play with just dropping in color or dropping in water and then moving on. Yep. And if you waited too long to drop in some color and it's still not wet, then you can totally just re-wet it. Just take some water, put it on your paper, and then drop in some color. You always have that option. Okay, and then what I'm going to do while it's still wet is I'm going to take some of my yellow and just do hints of yellow here and there. You see how that dandelion yellow dropped right in? Just adds like such a brightness to it, which is why it's kind of fun to just drop in other colors as you're playing, because I think it just adds a little bit more dimension and, you know, fun. I always like to drop in color. Yeah. I just feel like adding that yellow in there really kind of adds a lot of warmth. Yeah. Now, don't be afraid to add it in, Tammy.
I think I need to get it wet. Oh,
yeah. No, that's good. That's good. That's what we want.
All right.
Because so when you're using these big brushes and we're doing these big brush strokes, use the side of your paintbrush, and that's how you're gonna fill in more areas.
Pick up the paint too, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how you can pick up more paint and then lay it down using the side. When we're doing detail work, then it's okay to work on a point, but when we're kind of filling in areas, use the side of your brush and really just kind of like let that color in. Yep. Yes.
Should it be spreading or do I need more?
So I usually lay it down and then kind of like go around it and spread it, just help it spread just a little. Yep, and then move on to another area. You're doing great.
Thanks.
And maybe I would add some more brown to that.
Brown. Okay.
Yeah, you really want this to start to warm up and fill up. Yeah, great.
Because I got it too dry, so I thought maybe add water versus add wet paint.
Yeah. And you're gonna get some cool textures by dropping in that water. Gosh, I'm loving my pineapple already. Now it might look a little...
and I can totally see why.
Right? Like
Yours
it.
looks great.
Why not? Sign it. Let's sign it.
They all look great.
Moving
They
on.
all look great.
Thanks, we'll see you next week.
But I just feel like it's so fun when you're starting because you're like, this might look a little funky right now, but I can see what it's gonna look like soon, and
No,
it looks
because, like,
awesome.
If I was comparing, which I wouldn't be, because
You're
I took
not,
the
because
L,
we don't do
I
that
can
here.
see what you're saying about your pineapple. Mine's the pineapple that may not get chosen from the market.
Oh,
right
it's
away.
gonna get I would choose it. It looks great. Okay.
I'm also
yes.
learning
Drop in more
the
color.
benefits of the white paper. Like that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Really, what I'm saying is you've got white spots that will do more later, where I've got wet spots that will do different later.
Well, the hard thing with is it okay if I paint yours?
My
Like, just-
watercolor lingo.
Just be a little bit more, liberal with it. Just be
more
like,
brave.
yep. Just be like, this is nothing. This is just paint. I'm not scared of you.
Nothing to be afraid of.
Nothing to be. It's just paint,
just paint.
marks on a paper. It's fine. Go
Can't
crazy.
take it back. Not a big deal.
It's not a big deal. We're just having fun.
Okay, looks
And
great
then drop
now.
in, and then just like drop in some yellow. Okay. Sorry guys, sorry. Okay, anyways. Now then the hard thing with watercolor too, like when you were talking about with the white paper, is unless you have bleed proof white, which we don't have today, is that you can't go back in and add white with watercolor. So basically you almost have to work in reverse, where you leave your highlights white, whereas with acrylic or oils, you can go in and put those highlights in after and build it up. So just keep that in mind while you're painting. If there's an area that you want it to stay white as a highlight or whatever, just don't touch it with paint. That's all it is. And then your paper is actually gonna act as the white. Okay, now we're gonna move on to step 2. We're gonna do our leaves, okay? Now this part might be scary, right? It's not though, because they're just leaves. That's all it is. And what I want you to remember with the pineapples with your leaves, I'm actually gonna get my scratch paper here just to show you guys. So it's always a good idea when did I put green on our palette? Nope. It's always a good idea when you're painting an object that you know of to think of like what that texture is like in real life, or what that object is like. So if you think of a pineapple and you think of its leaves, they're thick. They're really thick. They're not like wavy. They're super structural. So we have to keep that in mind when we're painting it, how an object would act that way. So if I'm doing a leaf, my pineapple leaf is probably not going to do this. Right?
Yeah.
Because that shows a leaf that's maybe loose and flowy and thin and blowing in the wind and hanging off of something, right? So when I do my pineapple leaf, I don't want to do these like crazy waves, because a pineapple, is that the right word? Leaf, crown area? You guys know what I'm talking about.
I think the whole thing is the crown, but
Yeah.
each individual is
a
almost more of a
leaf.
spike than a leaf.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
That's the point you're trying to make, is it's hard, it's rigid,
Yeah,
it hurts.
so when you do these leaves, they come to a point, but they're more like straight, right? So you see how just doing a more straight leaf shows, okay, this is stronger, so it's not gonna be this wave. So when you do these leaves, they can have a little bend, a little at the end, kind of, because sometimes they do that. But for the most part, they're gonna be a little bit more rigid. Okay, that's the point I was making. I might have spoke too long about that. Tammy's like, we get it.
No.
We get the
Yeah,
leaves.
we'll see if we can do it though.
Okay, so I'm actually gonna put in the shadow first of my leaves, and then I'm just going to use that color to spread out. So when I put in the shadows of my leaves, I'm going to mix some green with some black. That's going to give me like a gray green, which is kind of what I like. If you want to add some warmth into it, you can mix your green with the honey brown or the yellow, and it's going to give you a different green. But I'm going to mix it with the black to get a darker green. And then the leaves all originate from the center of the pineapple, so that's where they're coming out from. So that's where our shadows are going to be. So when I do my leaves, there's going to be a shadow here and a shadow here. And these are essentially just the beginnings of where my leaves are coming out. So here's one, and I like to do like 3 at a time because I have to work fast now, right? So I put in my shadows, and then I'm just going to use the paint that's already there and spread out that paint to create the shape of my actual leaf. And remember, pineapple leaves are thick, so go ahead and thicken those babies up, okay? We don't want them to be super skinny. So use the side of your brush to make those leaves nice and thick, and then move it into a point. So they're going to start thick, and then they're going to move to a more narrow. Yes, great. Yes, great, excellent, excellent. And this is where working kind of fast is kind of what we want to do, because if we wait too long, then this paint is not going to bleed out as well because it would have dried. Which is why I usually only do like 3 or 4 shadows at a time, blend those out, and then do another chunk. And then the ones near the bottom of the pineapple, those ones kind of go out. And if this is really nerve-wracking for you, which it might be, okay? First of all, you're doing amazing that you're even doing this. Second of all, if it's easier for you to make the leaves using a light wash so you can kind of control the shape of them a little bit more, feel free to do that. This is just how I do it, where I just want it to be a little bit more crazy, a little bit more freeing. So I'm just gonna kind of, yep, yes. Excellent, excellent. That looks great.
I'm sure my kids are watching and going, Mom, you're doing it.
No, they're not saying that.
No.
But I would maybe thicken them up just a little bit.
That's
Yeah,
what they said.
that looks great.
Thicker.
I feel like I want to stop.
You can.
And then let it dry, and then we go in.
Yes.
My problem was I always
Yes.
go too far too fast. And
Yeah. No, this
Sit on
is,
my hand
okay,
for a
this is excellent. The fact that you're like, I'm just gonna sit
I'm just
for a
going to wait for the
second.
next step. I can always go catch up later.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And just being aware of that, that's
Well, maybe one
good
more.
for you.
I just need one.
okay.
Patient.
Well, no, this goes right there, but it'll bleed it out.
Okay, so I'm
This
gonna
is
move
fine.
on. I'm
Oh,
gonna
no,
move
you
on.
got it in there. Actually, I do need
So I'm gonna do a couple more near the top. So I'm doing it kind of section by section. Now, the pineapple goes out, and then when it gets near to the top, they kind of stick straight up a little bit more. So it's gonna kind of, your pineapple leaves are gonna do this. Brock, is it the front facing camera on me? Okay, it's gonna go. Did they see that?
Oh, they saw that.
Okay, good.
All the comments say how great it was.
Amazing. They're like, whoa, I see. They need a whole nother stack of leaves.
Yeah, you gotta do a second layer.
That's what I'm missing. I knew it was missing something. I was so impressed with the first round, and now I have the chances of making a second round.
And then thicken those things up. Let them be nice and thick. And let them overlap, okay? These leaves are not gonna be lined up perfectly stacked. There's gonna be some that are in front of the others. So what I like to do is I honestly just paint over it. So if I have a leaf coming out right here, I'm gonna go kind of just on top in between and paint that out. And I'm just painting on top. And yes, it's blending together. Yes, it's getting a little bit messy. That's what we want. We want this to be a little bit on the crazy messy side where we're not entirely sure what's going on, but we can tell that it's leaves. That's the goal here.
Really hungry for pineapple now.
Teriyaki chicken, anyone?
That pineapple like Dole Whip that they sell at Disneyland and the Dole Plantation in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I feel like I'm missing an area right here. So feel free to do this with your own painting. If you're looking at it and you're like, you know what, this section is looking a little bit bare, go right in there, add another leaf. And then I'm gonna add one to the front of mine. Now, we talked about foreshortening before, but just to give you guys a little bit more info on foreshortening. When you think, so the hardest thing with art is your brain sees something and it tells you what it is, and then your eyes actually see something different. So when we think of a hand, this is what we think of. This is a hand, okay? But hands bend and they move, right? And when the hand is this long, flat, and so when we think of a hand, our brain is telling us this is a hand. But when it's pointed towards us, it actually becomes like this tall, right? So even though our brain is like, that's a hand, and we want to paint it upright and flat, actually what we're only seeing is like this much of it, right? So it's the same thing with everything that we see, because our perspective changes how something is angled towards us. So when something is coming at us and it makes it shorter in height, that actually is called foreshortening. So these leaves that are in the front here, right, we have some that are coming off to the side, but we also have some that are coming out at us, but we're not going to paint those as long as the other ones because they're foreshortened and we're only actually seeing like this much of them. So when we do like our leaves that are coming at us, we kind of just make them like come out this way, like a little V, kind of like that. And that's enough information for me to tell that there is a leaf there that's coming at me. And it's just a little guy. And maybe you don't like that. Maybe you're like, I don't want to have a foreshortening leaf on mine. Don't do it then. This is your pineapple. Okay, it's your life. It's your painting. Do whatever you want. I'm just showing you what I'm doing.
She's just telling you how to be better.
Simply pointing out
really
strategies
smart
for success. That's what we're doing here.
No, I'm just, well, because I'm always afraid that I tell somebody that and then they're like, I added it and now it looks terrible. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Don't listen to me. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. It's fine. I went to art school. It's fine.
No, you know, I hear what you're saying, because you as the instructor want to make sure that everybody feels that it's open to their interpretation, as it should be.
Yeah.
And I actually go through that a lot of the times when working with our tutorials for man sewing as well, is it's like, and I had a realization recently, I saw something that was art and I just didn't care for it. And I had this emotional reaction of, I just simply don't like that. That's not something that I would display in my home. And I realized, wait a second, isn't that okay? Isn't that okay for somebody to see one of my projects on my show and say, I don't like that, that's not my cup of tea?
Yep.
And I'm always trying to make sure that everything is perfect for everyone. And I don't think we can do that.
Nope, no
and
way.
I think we'll go mad trying. And so it was kind of nice to have that realization. It's okay.
It's kind of
if people
freeing,
don't
absolutely.
like our art, because then the next person loves our art.
Yeah.
And I actually been reading comments over here about how much they love your personality. So
Aww,
artists are not, you are a
guys.
joyful person. There you go. That's it.
You guys are
It's
the
in
best.
writing over here.
But no, that's such a valid point. And that's the thing that, because first of all, you guys are very brave and you're putting yourselves out there for even painting with us, but also for people who are teaching like me and Rob, that's a very scary thing to do. We're also being vulnerable in terms of like, we're just people trying to teach you something, and maybe our personality is not for you, and that's
art,
okay.
So it's up to interpretation, where it's not like we're teaching math. We're like, no,
Right.
really, 2 and 2 is 17, I promise. I can draw you a picture nowadays, and with the Common Core, I can prove it. You know, no, none of that.
No, that's totally
Ask me
true.
how I really feel.
Okay,
Sorry,
let's check in.
Check in.
Let's check in. Sorry, we gotta.
Brush this down.
She's gotta come fix my painting. Hold on.
No, okay, first of all, your painting looks great. And I'm just gonna untape this just for a second, if that's okay, so I can move it to the middle. And then you can tape it back down. Okay. So her pineapple looks awesome. I love how thick her leaves are. This is looking really great. They're getting narrow as they go out. The only thing I would suggest is I feel like this spot is looking a little bit bare, so don't be afraid to put one there. And then I kind of want one just kind of going straight up. I usually am not a fan of things going right in the middle straight up composition-wise, but I feel like a pineapple is really like, you know what I'm saying? So that looks really great. This, I would say this and this, maybe put a little something there. And if you're, another trick you can do is if you're like, this space looks blank, but there's not enough room to do a full leaf, do it in a lighter value. Because then it will take up that space, but it won't be so strong that it looks too busy. Okay, so if there's a little chunk like that where you're like, there's not enough room to do something full, well then just do it in a lighter value. So add water to whatever color you're using. That's gonna fill in that space without it being too much. All right, let's bring yours over, Rob. Great, I'm just gonna take this tape right here. Okay, this is awesome. We have great, we can tell how spiky this pineapple is, right? It's really active, it's going out. I absolutely love what's happening here, right? Which
the way
is
the water's kind of washing.
the way
around,
that
yeah.
yellow is mixing in with that
Yeah.
green. I would leave that. That is watercolor
watercolor,
gold.
yes.
That is what we want. When these things accidentally just mix together and they just create these things that we didn't even intend to happen, that's when things get interesting, right? But I think this is looking really awesome. We'll go in on our last step and put in a little bit more shadow to kind of define the space a little bit more.
Okay.
But I think you have great texture with your pineapple. These watercolor drops, look at what those did in there. That is awesome.
It's neat as it starts to dry, for sure.
Exactly.
It has a whole different attitude.
It does, yeah. But it's looking really great.
Thank you.
Okay, tape that back down because yes. Fabulous. This is so great. Okay, so I put in my leaves, I have my pineapple. Now, I did lose a little bit of my shadows when I was blending out. That is okay, we're gonna go back in the last step and put those back in, so don't stress about it. Now we're gonna move on to the background, which is personally my favorite part of this painting. So, make sure.
Like I'll be really good at the background.
Great. So what we're doing with this, now this is a light pink wash that we're making here. And it kind of has a peachy tone to it. So what I did is I took magenta and I mixed in with a little bit of daffodil to get that soft pink, and I added water to it. And that's why it's kind of like a blush color or a peachy color. And so what I want you to do, take your brush, make sure there's no more green on it. And so you can always test it by just touching your paper towel.
You keep answering the questions right before I ask them. I love that.
I'm so glad.
Thank you. I appreciate you saving me the effort.
Yes. If you're really smart, you would have 2 cups of water. I don't do that. I don't know why. I'm very sorry. But you can always have a clean cup of water right here next to you, and that way you don't have to worry about your paint switching colors.
I've got our next new product. It's a little shot glass holder.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
The doubles right there. The little ones when you go to the place that has all the different beer flavors on tap.
Yeah,
and they make the little like 6-ounce
Sample,
cups, the
yeah.
sampler jar, and you can get a nice little let's make art right on front. It'll hold you can have a couple of
Genius.
holders for your brushes
Rob,
like that.
genius.
And your little cups and
I love it. Okay, now if you want your color to be a little bit more on the orange side, have more yellow. If you want it to be a little bit more on the pink side, have more pink than the yellow. So you kind of just mix it until you get a color that you're happy with. And make sure you add water to it. Okay, now I'm happy with this color. So this was this color. Can they see that, Brock?
yeah.
So this was this color, just mixed with water. That's how this is nice and light. If you want your background to be darker, don't mix as much water in there. It's gonna stay that strong color. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm just picking up this color, and I'm just gonna start on one side, and I'm just gonna fill it in, and then take water and blend out the color. And I'm gonna try and go in between my leaves. Now when water hits my green leaves, they're gonna bleed out a little bit. That's okay. That's what we want. So you're just gonna keep working. You're just gonna, and you can put the water in first and then drop in some color. Help it spread around a little bit, because if you don't want it to be polka dotty. You don't wanna like just touch that and just leave, unless you do. But for me, I don't want like polka dots on mine, so I'm gonna put in color and then use my brush and just kind of spread it out, smooth it out. Yes.
Actually dunk this.
Absolutely.
I feel like there's green in there.
Go ahead. There. Yep.
It doesn't matter what I do.
So just keep working your way around the pineapple. And this is the fun part, I think. You just get some really, and this is where you can add drops of water in there, and this is where you're gonna get some textures that you necessarily didn't mean to get.
Like a big black speck.
We got to embrace that
We're gonna
sometimes.
embrace that, yeah, because it didn't come out. There we
Yep,
go.
and that's okay. You just got to be like, it's fine. You know that cat painting that I showed? If you guys saw the last live video, I did a preview of what's in the October box, which is a really cool cat painting. And actually, if you look close, there is a black smear on it because right when I was finished painting it, I moved my hand and it just smeared, and I was just like, well, it is what it is, and it's fine. You just move on. I actually kind of covered it with my hand when I showed a preview of it. I like strategically put my hand over where the black mark was.
I've got some seeds that have been known to be gripped tightly under a thumb or two.
I'm just like, yes.
I might have snuck a couple of today. Even we were filming one, and I did the whole thing, and I accidentally stitched the binding piece in, and it was upside down. So as the binding goes through, you can see the seam showing, and if you know it, you know that's wrong.
I don't know that, but
I mean,
good
if
to
you
know.
see it.
The batteries before, so I should be good. Can you hear me now?
It says that there's a flashing battery symbol, so.
On mine?
Only for those that
Power.
that it wouldn't really help.
It's painting my speed power.
Okay,
Here,
are
you
we
can-
back?
There you go.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good? Okay. Funny story, both Brock and I were really nervous about the mics cutting out again, that he switched the batteries for his mic, and then without me knowing that, I then grabbed the batteries that he took out because I thought that they were fresh, and I put them in my mic. Don't. You guys, it's fine.
They were trying hard.
You can save my sign if you need that in weeks to
Thank
come.
you. I'm just going to hold it up
Yeah,
whenever.
Mike's need power. We'll be back.
Okay. And then as you can see, my color is slightly shifting as I'm going around. We're back, right? We're good? Okay.
They say we're back. Good job, Brock.
I'm not mad. I actually like slight color variation. I'm the type of person that just mixes a little as I go, and the colors do slightly change, but I'm okay with that, okay? If you're not okay with that, then just mix enough of the one color. That way you don't have to mix again and your colors will be the same.
I really like the variation of the different colors.
You know what? I do too. Tammy, I agree. We're on the same page here. And some of my green is kind of bleeding out here. You love that, okay? We embrace that. That's great. This
it covers your mistakes.
Yes. You can get messy with this, and it's just kind of fun. Hey, do we have that close-up camera on? That one?
What do you want to close up on?
I just couldn't remember turning it on. I didn't know. Is it on?
It's ready for the slow pan.
It's ready for the slow pan at the end? Okay, that's all that matters. So yeah, I'm getting different varieties here because some of the mixtures I'm grabbing have a little bit more yellow, some have a little bit more pink. You kind of just play with that. Yes. Yes, they look great. I'm sorry, I love this project so much. It's amazing. Okay, just keep going. We're almost done. So just kind of fill it in. And then you can always, when you're working light like this, you can always go back and do another layer on top if it's not strong enough for you. But I like really subtle washes and subtle changes of color. That's just my preference. But this is your painting. You can do whatever you want. It's your world. So if you want strong color, then pick up more color, put it on your paper, and it's going to be great. Do what feels right for you. And you'll see just by doing this kind of imperfect wash as we move around, we're going to get end up with water stains. We're gonna end up with different textures that were totally accidental, but that just happens when you're going with watercolor, and why I love it, why I think it's super cool. Okay, I feel pretty good. I think I'm gonna make one side darker down here.
Kind of just feels like pineapples should have more going on, you know, that different colors, different shades.
Yeah.
It goes with the pineapple theme.
It feels right.
Yeah, feels good.
Feels good. Okay. I feel good about mine. How do you feel about yours, Rob?
I'm pleased with mine.
That's a gorgeous color that you got back there. It's like a blush.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Ooh, and you got some great colors in here too. Strong colors, that orange, and you guys will see it. Don't worry, I'll move it towards the center. It'll be fine. Okay, but we're gonna move on to our very last step. We're almost done with this painting. Hopefully you're loving yours like I'm loving mine, because I'm loving it. So what I'm gonna kind of do is add a little bit more shadow and dark to my painting, because this is beautiful, right? But sometimes you want the full spectrum. So you see how we have some really dark areas here, and that's what I'm going to kind of go back in and add right now. So I'm going to start with my pineapple, and I'm going to grab some honey brown, mix it with a little bit of black, if I can see my black.
I do have to say, Rob has the advantage because you're over there.
Yes, and every week somebody comments that. So I was mixing my own colors, but she kept getting into mine over here. She kept mixing into mine.
I'm like,
so I
Rob,
just
look at
gave
that.
up and decided to use her colors. But I was mixing my own for a while, and then I just decided to get green and
She's like,
everything.
yours looks
also.
really nice. You have good color over
I like
there.
started
Yeah,
to mix
like
one, and
it,
I see
don't you?
Rob's over there, and I'm like, I'm just going to swipe from yours.
I mean, it makes it feeling better if I were comparing, which I'm not. Again,
Because we don't do that
we don't
here.
do that here. The depth of the background does a lot for the strength. I really am predicting, if I could put a $3 bet down, that you're going to have an amazing finish with the shadows that come in, because it's going to have strength. I like strong, deep, and that's the only thing I'm not really comfortable with mine. Like, I'm happy
And
with
I
the
love the
composition.
softness of yours. That's what I love
It is
about
well
it.
softened.
Yeah.
And so if you want to trade now, I'm still comfortable with that, because I like the darker, heavier feel usually. So I'm going to see what we can do with these shadows. But
Okay.
this is a
these
soft one.
finishing touches will really.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
like
going to
the
make
depth
some
of it.
areas pop. So one thing that we're going to do is kind of those triangle shadows that we put in the first time, we're going to go back and do those again. So I'm going to grab some black and a little bit of brown here, so it's a nice dark brown, and kind of where those shadows are, I'm going to put them in. Now you can leave them rough like this. I'm kind of using the side of my paintbrush to get kind of rough strokes here. And remember, this is not uniform. This is not super strategic. This is a little bit more random. But we're going to kind of put in some shadows here and there. Because sometimes when we get too methodical with putting stuff in, it then loses the randomness of how you would actually see it in person. And also, especially when we're doing texture, when you do the same textural lines over and over again, it actually flattens your image. I say that so many times. I'm sorry if that's, you're like, Sarah, I know, I've heard that. I'm just letting you know, okay?
Put it on a t-shirt.
Put it on a t-shirt. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same brown, and now that I know where my leaves are, I'm actually going to put a shadow, because the leaves themselves are going to be casting a shadow on the pineapple, because they're blocking the light from hitting that pineapple, and they're coming out from it. So just following kind of the shape of my leaves, I'm going to put some dark brown in there and then blend it out. Remember, this is your painting. Maybe you don't want a heavy shadow on your pineapple. Don't do it then. Maybe if you want yours to be nice and light, you skip this step. That is totally your right. I respect it. Just letting
Folks
you know.
like the tips. They want you to keep repeating the tips.
Okay, great.
Well, because sometimes we don't hear it at the right time.
Right.
It doesn't apply, right? We're not sitting there where we're like, oh, what would I do in this situation? And all of a sudden you say that tip and we're like, oh yeah, that's what we need right there.
Oh, let me scoot my painting up so you can see it. Okay, can they see that good? Okay, so just by adding that shadow in at the top, we added depth to our painting. Now what you have to remember too is when you put in that shadow, you want to blend out that shadow. We don't want a dark outline around the leaf because shadows are independent from the shape of what they're going around. Does that make sense? So you put in your shadow, you blend it out to a smooth transition to where it kind of just blends out, similar to the warm-up that we did of that value change. Exactly. Wonderful, wonderful. And you can be really dramatic with these shadows if you want. I'm kind of holding back a little bit more, but feel free to just like go crazy. I'm going to steal some of your brown. Okay, thanks.
Made quite a mess of it.
No, that's the best thing with this palette is it does get kind of messy and yeah, and Scott says the shadows really make it pop. Exactly. Because we're adding value, that creates depth, and then that automatically is going to push those leaves to the forward and push the top of your pineapple back. So it's going to create that illusion that we're trying to recreate, which is these are on different planes. It's art talk for you. Wow. And if you're losing a little bit of color, you can always drop in some yellow or some more brown. I'm kind of just really going crazy. I'm letting it get messy and I'm loving it. I'm having a great time. I actually want to do what Rob did and do some water textures because I thought that turned out super cool.
I didn't shadow that spot because we like the water texture. So
I was kind of hoping.
There.
I was hoping you wouldn't.
I think I got a little more water. I lost a little of what you call it, the watercolor mojo or love or magic or whatever it was.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Blended out more.
No, that's okay. It looks great. We're leaving it. Okay, now I kind of created a little bit more form on my pineapple. I'm going to do the same thing with my leaves. So we're moving on to the leaf part, okay? I'm going to mix some black with green, get that nice dark green because we're going to do our shadow. And then basically where these leaves, so you see that they're all basically generating from this center of this pineapple. See how they're all coming from the center? That's where our shadows are going to come from. So I'm just going to start putting in some shadows. And remember to blend them out a little bit, but it's going to do the same thing, which is it's going to create a little bit more depth within our leaves. So already just by adding those 3 shadowed areas, I have a more clear understanding where leaves are kind of coming out. I'm going to do some, and also like the underside of the leaves, maybe the ones at the bottom are going to have a stronger shadow at the bottom. And this can be as loose and as kind of rough as you want it to be. I'm going a little bit more loose here. I was going to say loosey-goosey, and I'm like, don't say that, Sarah. This is art. Just kidding. So yeah, as you guys can see, just by putting those shadows in my leaves here, they just kind of shape up a little bit more. And they're all kind of generating from this center area where they're kind of coming out from the pineapple. So I'm putting shadows, Stacy asked if I'm putting shadows on a specific part of the leaves. I'm kind of doing it where I would imagine them generating from the center. So you see how, like wherever I would see that leaf kind of poking out, that's where I'm putting those shadows. So if they're kind of poking out from here, this is where the shadow is. If they're poking out from here, and this is the bottom. So it's essentially the bottom part of the leaf that you see, if that makes any sense. Yeah, that looks great. Very nice. It looks good. Okay, I feel good, except, okay, I did have a leaf right here. I lost him. I'm gonna put him back in there. So this is the very last part of our painting. So this is where you're gonna take a look at your painting and be like, okay, is there anything I kind of wanna adjust really quick? Do I need to darken something? Do I need to add a little extra leaf somewhere? That kind of thing. So this is where you kind of, and it's also really helpful to actually take your painting, hold it up and then like walk away from it. And it's easier to see things when you're farther away from them. Sometimes we're so on top of it that it's hard to see what's going on. So put it somewhere, walk away, take a look. Take a picture of it. That also actually really helps in terms of composition or color or value. Just taking a picture, then you can kind of adjust it if necessary. But always take the time to kind of step away from it. I can't right now because that would be weird. But if you're at home, do it. Okay. I'm done with mine.
I think yours looks great.
I think yours looks great. It looks awesome.
I could use a few more hours.
Awesome. I think we're ready to hold them up. Okay, and I just, yeah, you can just untape it. Now, if yours is drippy wet, yours is a little drippy wet, so you might want to take your paper towel and soak up that drippiness since we're going to hold it up. Okay. Okay, let's see. So, we're going to hold it up to, oh no, sorry. I should have told you how to take it off. Yeah, there you go. You go the opposite way. Yeah.
Pretend like that didn't happen.
Just put your finger over it.
That's where
You're
hold the picture
professional
from.
already. Okay.
All the tricks of the trade.
Mine's pretty dry. I'm just going to hold it up.
So you got to hold it at the right angle so it doesn't run too
Yeah.
fast.
Okay, Brock, are you ready to do the slow pan?
Slow pan.
Oh, yeah, look at those pineapples. Look at that face.
They look so good. You guys did awesome.
Yay.
It was
Good
fun
job.
anyway.
Yeah. That's really the main thing, right? It's just
I
fun.
do have a little drip. I'm going to let that work for me.
Yeah.
Come on
Embrace
now.
the drip. Embrace the drip.
now.
Okay, first of all, you guys are awesome for doing this. This project was all about loose and going crazy and not having it be perfect and just playing. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I absolutely love it. So if you painted it, share it. Show people what you're doing. Get them excited to paint also. You can put it in our Facebook group. It's Let's Make Art Together. Such a supportive community. When I'm feeling a little overwhelmed by work, because let's be honest, that happens. I honestly just go to the Facebook group and everybody is posting their work and people are commenting how great it is, how awesome. I love it. It really warms my heart. So you guys are so awesome for doing that. If you put it on Instagram, you can just tag us in it. Our handle is Let's Go Make Art. I would love to see it. And next week, we are doing the flamingo!
Wow, that's gonna be so fun.
Yeah, this project is super fun. It's way simple. It's so much more simple than it seems. So that's what we're doing next week. And just to give you guys a heads up, whenever there are 5 Tuesdays in a month, which I'm pretty sure there is for this month, we use one of the Tuesdays to paint our postcard that comes in the subscription box. So next week we're going to do the flamingo. The week after that, which is the last Tuesday in September, we're going to be painting our postcard that we send for our Let's Make Art Matter. We're going to paint that together Tuesday night. So just keep that in mind. So flamingo is next week though, and we'll release the tutorial for that tomorrow so you guys can get a jump start and paint that. And then, do you guys want to see another project for October? Yeah. This one's Brock's favorite.
Radical. I hadn't seen this yet. That is amazing.
So we're doing a fox.
Wow.
This is one of our
Just a flamingo
projects.
away from being able to paint that. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much.
Nice. I'm one flamingo away.
But I love this project because you can't maybe see close. There's so much salt work. It's super textural,
That's
super
amazing, Sarah.
active,
That was
and
wonderful.
you guys can paint this. If you haven't subscribed to our October box, you have until the 25th, so you can get this project.
Mine's on the way.
Yeah. And I think that's it. So thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Bye.